Yeah, we got Gary right there.
Awesome. We got Gary.
Good morning.
How you doing, Gary?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. So you've been following us for a little bit. So you got your coffee there with you and ready to go?
I had to get up and get the hair and makeup done this morning. So I wanted to make sure that I was ready to go for you guys.
Yeah. Great. So
the hair looks great.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. So, I mean, we'll just go ahead and kick it right off. So I understand from you're born in Chula Vista to a Navy family.
I was. That's unfortunately, with the people we're talking to today, the bad part is that my military background is very limited. I was born to a Navy family in San Diego, is where my dad was stationed. So we were only about a 6-year program where we lived in San Diego when I was born. So my memories are not very good. Then we moved to Alameda, and that's where my dad ended his tenure with the Navy. So till I was about 5 or 6. So yeah, not a lot of memories about it, but still proud of him. And my brother then went into the Navy at a later time. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Sweet. So not a lot of memories of the naval service time, but something about the way that your family had a calling to serve others kind of fueled you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So at that time, people had either chose to go into the service or do whatever. And I was still trying to live the dream about playing baseball, and I wasn't good enough to continue to play too deep, but I was probably good enough to play at a junior college. And I was in that process of going to school and didn't really know what I was going to do. I went to a job fair, and while I was still trying to play baseball, and there was a table there that was talking about law enforcement, and I thought, yeah, you know what, I think I'd be pretty good at that. But I was young. I was only 20 years old. So I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. And I took the information, filled out the application, and lo and behold, the process started, and it turned out to be my career. And hung up the cleats and went into law enforcement. And the ironic part about that is I was 20 years old, and you couldn't even become an officer till you're 21. But as long as I turned 21 while I was in the academy, I was able to proceed with that employment. So that's how that all went down. So it's not the same as, by far, it's not the same as what people on here that are watching have been through. And, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service, because you've given me and everybody that I know the ability to live a free life. But it was my way of giving back and my way of serving the community.
Yeah, Gary, I'll have to say, because I've been in the military and then I flew air medical, so I've been a first responder. And I think it's very similar. I think it's a brotherhood both ways that you look.
Yeah.
Military, brotherhood, sisterhood,
Yeah.
the military. So I think it's very comparable. So, from me and I know from Greg too, we thank you for your service and everything that you did, because I have a lot of good friends. A guy that I fly with every day, he's a 32-year police officer, and we have the same stories. We have the same, so yeah, anybody who served in a capacity like you have, I appreciate that as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. No, thank you.
Yeah. How many years did you spend behind a badge?
Well, about 32. And then we'll get into how that whole thing ended. But being so young was a good thing and a bad thing. When you're 20, 30 years, you're 50, and you're like, damn, I'm done at 50. I can be done.
Yeah.
And it afforded me a lot of opportunities for umpiring. As we all know, umpiring is, you have to have a flexible schedule in order to be an umpire. Well, sure is nice when you can be kind of retired at 50. So it's allowed me to do those 15, 16, 17 weekends a year to be gone and on the road, because what else am I going to do? Play golf? And I'm not that good at that. And I'm trying like heck to be good at it. So, but this year I'm getting a little better at golf, because obviously they ripped baseball off from under us. And spent a lot more time playing golf when I should have been out umpiring.
Right. Yeah, 30 years, that's a long
Yeah.
time to dedicate to something. And the cool thing is, we talked about your family and their and their intrinsic desire to serve others that potentially led you to becoming a law enforcement officer, again, in fulfillment and service of others. But you didn't stop there. You still wanted to help your community, and you started out umpiring the Little League level and volunteering, right?
Yeah. So funny story, and it's probably one that a lot of other people have gotten or heard or lived. At my little brother's baseball game, and being a good older brother and watching the game, and of course, guy shows up to umpire, and his partner had a flat tire or whatever else happened, and so he's by himself, and they of course look out into the stands and say, "Hey, we need somebody to umpire." And they're all looking around, and I look probably like an athletic guy still, and like, "Hey, how about you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." Like, "Come on, we need somebody, or we can't play the game." There's that, right? We can't play the game.
It's on your shoulders.
Now it's on me.
That's right.
So I'm like, all right. So I'll never forget this as long as I live. I'm 18 years old, and the guy who I'm going to work with says, "No matter what I do, no matter what I ask you, just agree with what I said." So if I ask for a check swing, just give me what I said. If I say safe out, just give me what I said. So I'm like, oh, this umpiring stuff's easy. I don't even have to make decisions. Right. So long story short, I go out there. Nobody yelled at me, as I can recall. God, it's been like 87 years ago now. But yeah, that's how it started. And then it became, this is actually kind of fun. And now this is right around that time of getting ready to go to college, and I'm kind of playing baseball, but I'm trying to stay in the game. So it was a nice transition to start umpiring. So I immediately got into Little League, and it was like, okay, this is kind of fun. The kids don't really yell at you. At that time, the parents didn't really yell at you. It's kind of nice. It was like, wow, they gave you a free hot dog. How can this be any better, right? So I started doing it, and then it became like, I really am enjoying this. So it became my way of giving back to the community, and I became what then was a 40-plus year lifelong volunteer umpire, and for Little League baseball. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough to get umpires to come onto the field and take but to volunteer your time and give back to your, I mean, I started out as well in Little League baseball. I just found the local Little League there. It's actually in San Clemente, California. And I went out there after a deployment and said, "Hey, I used to do this like 20 years ago when I was 18. So you guys want to show me how to do it again? Because I've done forgot." Yeah. And sure enough, they welcome you with open arms, and but it takes a special kind of person to stay at that level.
Yeah.
Of volunteering. And you didn't just stay there, you excelled and you exceeded expectations at that level, and are quite accomplished there. But before we go into that too much, so I understand you're married. You got 3 kids and a grandbaby.
I do. My oldest is 32, lives out in Mississippi. He's a fireman, and they just recently had what is our first grandbaby. Just turned 2.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's kind of nice. It's great to go back there and visit and see them. And then my middle son is 30, and he lives back in the St. Louis area, and he's an insurance agent. He's both married to teachers. So it's a difficult, crazy time for them, this whole distance learning, whatever they're doing kind of thing. And so they're working their way through that. And then my wife here works in the senior living business. And I have a 20-year-old who is a college student, but now with with COVID. He's a college student that went away to college and is suddenly back at home. And well, that's probably the biggest challenge of my life. But I'm sure other people can attest to that. So you, what do you mean? We have rules? There's rules. I don't have rules at school. Yeah, well, guess what?
Well, I tell
you got rules here
on that because I have a 20-year-old. She's a junior, and then I have a high school student, and my daughter was home from UNC Chapel Hill the other day, and me and my wife were joking, like we had to tiptoe around our house and give each other like hand signals because we couldn't make a peep because they were both so into their classes and all that, and it was miserable.
Yeah, it's a different time, no question about it. It's different.
Yeah. So something I heard there, and it's warm. It's warm in my heart. It's like, here we are. We started talking about this Navy family that had a service to others, and here is his kids and his wife are, they're in the same realm.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a firefighter that's in service to others as well. I mean, that's an amazing, amazing trait to pass on, and you've got to definitely be a proud papa and a proud granddad.
Yeah, and he's part of the Swiftwater Rescue team in Mississippi. So they just got back last week from Louisiana. They were down in Louisiana after the hurricane. So he spent about a week down there doing Swiftwater rescues. So he is typically deployed. Last year he was deployed out to Florida. When there's a major hurricane, he's involved in that. The whole helicopter thing, he sends me videos and pictures. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of him.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I love helicopters.
So you were volunteering and doing like I think you said 87 years worth of service there. So well, let's take you back to that day in 2016, or maybe it was the end of 15, where you got the phone call that said, "Hey, we'd like you to come out and help us at this event."
Yeah. So funny story, because I'm just kind of going along my Little League career, enjoying the heck out of it. Obviously I knew I was pretty decent at it because I went from Little League to college baseball. I did not work one day of high school baseball. And I know some people are like, oh, that sounds so silly and stupid, but I walked off a Little League field, and it's always about, remember, who sees you and right timing and everything else. And somebody kind of approached me and said, have you ever thought about doing college baseball? I'm like, well, hold on. I'm like a Little League umpire here. And like, no, we think you'd be pretty good at it. And I'm like, okay, well, let me think about that, blah, blah, blah. Thought about it. I'm like, what the heck? I like it, so we'll give it a shot. So long story short, I went directly from Little League to junior college baseball. Skipped high school baseball completely. And I think there's not many people probably have done that, and not necessarily that proud of it, just kind of happened. So I'm moving along in my career, and I'm now doing college baseball, and I'm still doing my Little League stuff, especially around tournament time, and doing my volunteerism. And I kind of, for a long time, everybody has that dream of, I want to be a Little League World Series umpire. And I had done the Big League World Series in Easley, South Carolina. I had done tons of regionals and sectional tournaments, divisional tournaments. I'd done the Little League region tournament in 2004, I believe. So I had been in the process and known that, it was always a possibility. But as I had gotten older and moved on in my career, I'd kind of like, yeah, whatever. And there's so many umpires and so many volunteers that I wasn't the guy that was sitting on my mailbox every year like I know a lot of people are. So I totally just dismissed the whole idea of Little League World Series. And then I get this letter in the mail, and it is the invitation to go umpire at the Little League World Series. And I thought to myself, now I'm way past that now, because now I've not only have I done my volunteerism, but I've moved on. I'm now a Division I college umpire and doing a lot of other things. And part of that was one of the concerns I had about, can I or should I, as a Division I umpire, college baseball umpire, go back and do a Little League World Series? Will the expectations be pretty high of me? And so I thought about it for a day or two, talked to my family, talked to a couple of my mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Dude, you need to do this." So long story short, I did it, and highlighted my volunteer career. It was an amazing time. And I'm sure you're going to talk with Kelly coming up here next segment. She's going to give you a lot more into that. Also, she did an amazing job, and you can't describe it. I mean, I'd watched it on TV for years, and there is nothing that can compare to the feeling of walking on that field in front of that many people and that national stage and umpiring a game. And I've been in front of 20,000 baseball fans umpiring a college game, and you can't compare the two.
Wow.
Yeah, the excitement and the energy is up. I heard that from a guy one time that said, very similar story. You go out and you work these huge venues in college baseball with jam-packed stadium, but when you're at the culminating event of young men and women's lives, their team, and you're there, it puts added pressure on you, doesn't it?
Oh, no question. And the beauty of it was I had worked in front of those crowds, so I was not nearly. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous, but I wasn't nervous like you see some of these poor people and you think, oh my God, they're not going to make it. And you're standing out there before you go on the field and they're profusely sweating and shaking almost. And I'm like, it's just a ball game. I know it's a ball game with 30 cameras and millions of people watching, but it's just a game. And I became kind of like the confidant that everybody would come to, and, how do you do it? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. So I made a point every game that I worked on in that 10-day period to just stand there and just kind of between innings, just look around, soak it in, because it is truly amazing. And I remember in the final game, standing out there before the game started, and another guy that I'd become very good friends with from Louisiana, and we stood there and just kind of looked around. I go, just take a minute, man, just smell the grass, just look around.
Yeah. How many games did you umpire while you were there?
Yeah, I think 12, something like that.
Yeah.
And so 6, 12. Yeah, I think 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you worked every position at least twice. So that'd be 12.
So I'm curious on that. We've had some of our veterans that, we teach them this skill and we bring them in, and from, soup to nuts, we give them all the equipment, we give them the training. And then at the end of the camp, they came to us with absolutely nothing. Maybe they had no knowledge.
Yeah.
We had a guy that literally asked us, how many pitches you going to let a guy throw outside of the zone here before you just send him away? And we're like, oh, you don't even know what a walk is. So, so we bring these guys in, and then it culminates and we give them a tournament to work, and they walk away with gear, equipment, training. I mean, everything they need and experience to be able to go out and work at any youth ball field. And one of the things that a guy had said to me at one time, he said, I did like 3 or 4 tours in Iraq, and I tell you what, I'd take an enemy combatant Iraqi right now over this 8-year-old with a baseball any day. I mean, his anxiety was so high. So when you worked in these venues like that, and you go out and work at the Little League World Series, and all that pressure's on you, what kind of techniques did you use that helped calm you down? Or at least you said, told the other people, just stop and smell the grass and stuff. But
yeah.
What did you have to do?
So that's a great question. And I have a mantra that I use no matter where I'm working, when I'm working. I'm working in a Pac-12 weekend behind the plate, and it's a nut cutter kind of situation. I always say to myself one thing: you belong here, do your job. And that calms me down. So anytime I get into, and we all know when the big pitch or the big play is about to happen, and we get that, we have that sense about us. So when that's about to happen, I just tell myself, breathe, you belong here, do your job, and everything will be fine. And that always works for me.
Those are good words.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, because it makes me think, because just for me, I played college baseball, but I'm just out. Went through the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy last year just to get back into it, and
Hmm.
I think that those words are great because that's what they teach you. I mean, everything that these guys teach us is take a deep breath, slow down,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
everything you want to do, you want to rush and rush and rush. You think you got to be fast.
Yeah.
Timing, slow.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and I was just thinking myself is I ended up retooling myself in my career a few years ago, and taught went back and retooled myself as a software engineer. And one of the things that they told me in the beginning of that was you're gonna get into a place and feel like you don't belong here. And those words aren't just gold on a baseball diamond. They're
Yeah.
gold
In
anywhere you
life.
go. I mean, you just kind of say,
Yeah.
they call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an imposter. I don't belong here. But the reality of it is, look, you got hired.
Yeah.
You're on that field because somebody believes in you.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
man, Gary, that's the first time I'd heard you say that. And that's going to resonate with me.
Yeah.
That's key. So thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure.
So,
My pleasure. And go ahead.
okay, well, I was just going to lead in, but if you got something else on that.
No. Go. Please.
We had kind of queued up a question that we were going to ask most of our speakers to see if we could get to it, but we've been so excited talking about other things, but I was able to come around, and this is, we all struggle as veterans to transition, and we've had a life-changing event. Many of our veterans may have thought they, were going to do a 30-year career, and after 4 years, they found themselves, unfortunately unable and unfit to continue their active service. So it's a generic question. I think I know where you're going to go with it, but the question was basically, if you've ever found yourself in a really scary situation and you weren't completely sure how things were going to come out, but you persisted and you dug deep and you had to overcome a major challenge. So what do you got there?
Yeah. All right. Let's give this our best shot here. I'm gonna try to make it through too. Okay.
Okay.
So in 2010, was an interesting year. Part of the Little League experience, I went over to Poland to umpire in a regional tournament. I was asked to go over to Poland. So I thought, this is great. I'm going to go an international tournament, have a great time. Had a blast. While I was over there, I became very ill, like deathly ill. At the time, didn't know what, ended up in a Polish hospital, and ended up with, I had a perforated colon. So basically, I had less than 1% chance of living. I was a septic person in a third world hospital where nobody understood me.
Was anybody?
And my wife and son were there. So I end up in this hospital at the end of this tournament. We were going to go on to Prague and have this great family vacation that never took place. And long story short, I was there for several weeks, then flown back to the United States in a hospital. And that process took about 2 years for me to get from the worst part, which was the doctor telling my wife in the broken Polish English accent that he needs to have a surgery. And my wife said, okay, so we go home tomorrow and have surgery. And they said, no, you don't understand. He needs it now. And my wife and I looked at each other, looked around this hospital, and it was like, we could never understand what this was like. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was old. And we put our faith in God that they're going to fix me. And they did.
No.
Excuse me. I always get choked up about this because this brings me to something that I know there's so many people watching. Had challenges. And it paused my career in baseball, but it also made me who I am today.
Sure.
And, you know, the people that believed in me stuck with me, and excuse me, and convinced me that I could do the things I wanted to do. And because of those things and those people is why I'm here today, and why I was able to get through that time in my life to be able to go on to what was then a successful. I retired at that point. That was when I told you I'd get to that point. That was when I was 30 years. I retired, moved on with college baseball and my umpiring development, Little World Series, and brings me to today, basically, and fast forward. And, you know, I want to, you know, when we end, I've got a statement that I've always lived by, and I'll save it for the end, but it'll all make sense when I say it. And I just want to emphasize to all of you wounded warriors out there who are thinking about getting into umpiring or whatever you're doing in life. First of all, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and know that you can do it. I was just a little league umpire. I went to work college. I'm still working Division I college baseball, 15, 16 weekends a year. And I love it. I love it. And I work hard every weekend, every day to be the best I can be. And it's because I have it inside here. And I know you all have it inside of you too. So we come from different places, but ultimately, like I think Greg or Matt said, that brotherhood is what we all have. And it's important that we stick with us, because when we walk on the field, there's either 2, 3, 4, 6 of us, whatever division you're working at. It's just us. It's us against the world, right? I think I heard Mike say it was them against 50 or 60, right. And it's true. It's absolutely true. You know, on the battlefield, the odds are much worse. But you got to stick with who you went there with.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that had to be a tough time. But, man, I tell you, to have your wife and your kid there with you, though, to have that support network, and I'm sure Little League Baseball was right there behind you and supporting you along the way too. I mean, it's that's definitely a scary time.
Yeah. In fact, let me touch on this. Tom Rollins. You again, even from a distance. Tom Rawlings is the Little League umpire director, so he's watching.
Yes, he is. Tell Tom hi. Hi, Tom. Got to meet Tom when I was out there. It was a great time. It was actually, I believe, Tom's first year as the Little League director. The year I was in Williamsport, so we had a really good time. Really good time.
You know, that's a powerful story, because, you know, we all have ups and downs in life, right? We all go through highs and lows, and we all have a story to walk, and it's just keeping that faith, like you said, and really trusting that it's all going to come out okay. And you put a lot of trust in some doctors that you had, yeah. And I know that's because you trusted. You're in a weird place and a weird time, and you had to trust these people. That's all you could do. I can't even.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's but you know, it's in a way you deal with that, and you know, some people deflect a little bit. It reminds me of a David Letterman interview he did with Medal of Honor recipient Kyle Carpenter. And David Letterman was sitting there, and he was reading through all the surgeries that this young warrior had been through, and everybody's just, you know, they're in the audience, and their jaw is just dropped, because they're like, he's had like 80 some odd surgeries. I made that number up. I mean, he's had a lot, right? And Kyle's just sitting there. He's in his dress blues, and he's sitting there looking at David. He's got a smile on his face. He's just kind of laughing giddy. And then David's just like, that's X number of surgeries. And he just looks at him, and he smiles, and he laughs, and he goes, yeah, I'm a bit of an overachiever. And it's like, you take something that is, you know, so that's a crisis, like in a situation that you just described, and you end up on the other side of it, and it redefines who you are.
Yeah.
And it makes you stronger, and you're able to, I mean, the level of what you can do now to give back is immeasurable.
So we got 5 minutes left here. If you were to give somebody like myself who's just getting back into the game, or just not even just getting back into it, but just starting out, what would be the best piece of advice you would tell a young umpire from your experience?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you. Find a mentor. Absolutely, find a mentor. A mentor is somebody who can tell you what to do, when to do it, when you're doing it right, when you're doing it wrong. He can be honest. He or she can be honest with you, and that's the most important thing, honesty. I do not want somebody telling me, after I work a game, oh, great job, great job, great job. That's not important to me, because I know I didn't have a perfect game. I didn't call a perfect game. I was not perfect. I want to know all the things I did wrong or could have done better to be better. We all do this because for one of two reasons. You either enjoy it, or maybe three reasons. You enjoy it, you're getting paid to do it, or you want to be the best at it. Okay. I choose option 3. I always want to be the best at it. And the only way you do that is you find a mentor. And excuse me, still today, some of my mentors, we talk on a daily basis. So I'm sure a lot of you out there can resonate with the fact that the best friends I have in the world today are umpires.
Yeah.
And they weren't lifelong friends. They weren't people I went to school with. They weren't people I necessarily worked with. They're umpires because of that brotherhood that we have. So find a mentor, somebody will be honest and open with you and tell you exactly what you need to do, what you shouldn't do, because that's just as important as what you should do, how to act, how not to act, because those are the things that'll bite you in the butt faster than anything.
Yeah.
As we all know, in today's day and age, every game you umpire is on video. I don't care if it's a travel ball little league game or if it's a college game. Somebody is videotaping and you are being watched by everybody. So, and I umpire every game as if my boss, whoever the director of umpires is for that conference or whatever division, is watching, because you know what? They probably are.
Yeah. I think for somebody like me too, this is my advice, not just I'll say this as a new umpire, but I'll say it as a former Marine, as a pilot now, and just all the things that I do, is learn to take that advice. I think too often people look at that as a negative. Oh, Greg is watching me umpire this game, and then Greg comes over there and he's giving me a list, or when I'm in Charleston, I see Greg over here going like this, like he's something, like he's sneaking it in on me. So I'm like, okay, but that was a teaching moment, and that video helped me recognize that. And in fact, I think David was behind the plate. I think y'all are communicating, because I was making the call, but I wasn't following to make sure the transfer happened, and they could see it in the way my eyes were. I can't remember who was with you, but you showed me that video. But that was a teaching moment. Well, you could do that one or two ways. I'm like, I could be like, well, why is he dang on videoing me? But take that instruction, and it's a positive if you want to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to get better, you have to be willing to listen to the negative parts, because the negative parts are going to make you way better than the positive, promise you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the old looking at an empty bag.
Yeah. Exactly. So
there's nothing on the empty bag. Why are you looking at it?
Yeah. And I umpired with David the other day, and I actually watched him, and he just looked at me and he just shook his head up and down like, so I was like, okay, I must have done that right. So yeah, take that feedback. So.
Well, Gary, it's been a great chatting with you here. I'm going to give you the last word here. But before I do, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on and spending some time with us and sharing some words of wisdom and telling us a little bit about who the man you are. So Parting shots for us.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you to you folks, and Rich Padilla especially, who was the person who asked me to be a part of this. I know that he's been involved for a while, and I always kind of envied the fact that what you guys are doing to give back. So to me, it's an absolute honor to be here today. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to leave you with something that is something I keep. It's on my desk. It's probably behind me somewhere. It's written right here. I look at it every day. I bring it with me on the road. It's something that I repeat to myself all the time, and I think that it can be helpful to you and everybody watching. Now, I did not make this up. I got it from somewhere online somewhere, and I've always loved it. And it goes like this: success is not final. Okay, so think about that. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And if you really drill down on that, I think you'll understand that just because you've had a little success, don't be happy with that. Want more. And just because we've fallen and had challenges in our life, don't give up. It's the courage that we continue that's going to be what we're made of and what we're remembered for. And that's how I want to leave it with you guys.
Yeah. That's awesome. I really have enjoyed this. Thanks for talking to us. And yeah, it's just an honor to get to know you. And you've done great things. So yeah, I'm just impressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. It's like he said, it's an honor to have you with us and tell us your story. And I know you've touched the hearts and minds of somebody out there, and you've definitely made a difference today. So thanks for your time and your support of Wounded Warriors.
My pleasure, and look forward to the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
You bet.